imagine your rights are stripped away, not because of what you did, you're just born the wrong sex. A Thousand Splendid Suns highlights this, visualizes this in a brutal reality. However, I walked away from this amazing book with a deep realization, a deep feeling of true resilience and love. My name is Zach, and this is the Literary Tailor, where we have great books and even better conversations. And today, A Thousand Splendid Suns will be the subject. I hope you guys enjoy, so let's get into it. Miriam and Lydia. These are the two women that were the centerpieces of this amazing story about survival, friendship, and love. Miriam wasn't given a good start on life. She was sort of the black sheep right away, as she was a bastard child. Her parents weren't even married at the time of her birth. Her father lived with his many wives and had many children. However, for Miriam, she lived with her mother in a tiny shack. She wasn't given education or anything at all. She desired for education, but her mother forbid it. And Miriam had this idea, this twinkle in her eye, that her life had meaning to it. And this will become a key point for her later on in the story. For Lydia, a complete opposite. She was given a more of a privileged life compared to Miriam. She had friends, she had healthy parents, and she had a opportunity for school. And it's shown as her intelligence shown throughout her life. And how they come into contact is simple. Well, kind of. They both marry the same guy. Lilia's arrival in this love triangle, if you can call it, as the second wife of this abusive man. Well, later on, you'll see how abusive he can become. And this creates sort of a interesting resentment and rivalry between the two women because they thought, well, for mostly Miriam's sake, that she was being replaced with a new version, a new model, a better model. And for Lydia, this whole marriage was simple for survival. When we first see the connection between these two women, it starts with how the reason why Lydia decided with this marriage because she was pregnant, not by a husband, but by a friend of hers at one point. And this connection will later on be the bridge to these two women's friendship and love. And they would also enjoy a peaceful moment away from this man with chai tea sitting outside, even though there was a war going on inside and outside the house. In a sort of a organic way, Miriam becomes more of a maternal, a mother figure toward Lydia and Lydia's daughter, as she becomes this somewhat a protector, even though her protecting almost meant nothing when her husband was fully angry and abusive. It was because of this maternal bond between Miriam and Lydia's daughter that creates a connection, a unbreakable bond, as an act of resistance between the husband of them both and what and the Taliban that was happening outside, and forcing women to become objects instead of actual people. When I say this book shattered me, it shattered me. Unlike a lot of books have done, this book especially just made me feel a special way that I didn't know were possible. That made me reflect on a lot of things more clearly once I finished the book. It really made me realize how privileged my life was compared to these women and the women that continue to experience this kind of life today in Afghanistan. And this shattered me even more to know that no matter what, love will always trump over evil and darkness. And this is the idea that I will always remember even today. Sacrifice is a big theme of this story. As for Miriam being the maternal figure, she had to understand this and accept this idea of sacrifice. And Lelia does the same when she has to understand what sacrifice in order for her daughter and later her son to have lives. And for Miriam particularly, what this idea of sacrifice means, just it doesn't matter what happens to you in the end. What the sacrifice means is what you will do for the ones you truly love, no matter. The embodiment of what these two women show is no matter how caged they feel, how trapped they are in their environment, whether it be outside or inside of their house, this idea, this feeling that no matter being caged, there's always ways to still be powerful and show your empowerment over anyone that holds you captive or holds you to a level. And these women demonstrate this with each day of as they continue to survive, to grow this friendship, to demonstrate their love with each other. And no matter what, showing that no matter what, they're not going to let this man be the one to fully cage everything, but they'll show that they will resent, they will demonstrate their way to survive no matter what. The resilience between these two women are staggering and empowering as me, just a reader, a complete opposite from these women. As I finally saw that being resilient isn't just about surviving, it's just keeping your morals, keeping everything intact, keeping everything about you, no matter how feel caged, how trapped you feel. That resilience is the key in order to survive and for to always overcome everything, every obstacle, no matter what. And these two women demonstrate this a lot more throughout the book, and which is why these two women are some of my favorite characters I ever read. When we think of this idea of helping someone, what do we really think? Help them with moving uh, a garage, helping them move a couch, whatever. But for me now, after reading this book, the word help is a lot stronger, a lot deeper than I once figured, because Miriam demonstrates this idea. She demonstrates this action of really helping Lydia and her children, knowing that the consequences are really bad for her. But she decided to go against what's in it for her in order to help the person she loved. And this idea of what help really means is what really is going to stick with me till the end. As helping someone isn't about helping myself or making myself feel better, but knowing what to do in the right situation, no matter how bad the situation might be for me, in order to help the person I love. This book has such an impact on me once I finished it that when I now think of this book, I can't help thinking about what true friendship really is and what true love is actually. Obviously, this isn't a romantic love, but still a deep bond, a deep love that friends can share in order even just to survive or just to have that bond that remains unbreakable. And that's the key thing I think about when I read this book or remember this book is unbreakable bonds. No matter what how bad how bad the situation is, that unbreakable bond will never be shaken. And this is what I will remember when I reflect on this book later on in my life. And the key thing is resilience, is another way I look at this book. As both Miriam and Lydia demonstrate this to a key quality of no matter what, no matter how bad it's dark outside, whether it be inside or out, as the war is booming on, bombs being dropped, people getting shot in the street, or their husband beating the crap out of each other, no matter what, they remain resilient, and no matter what, they won't let this define them anymore, and they won't let this darkness overcome them, and they'll remain light no matter how dark it is. When we first meet Miriam, this idea of shame is a definition for her as she was given throughout her life. being a bastard child and the black sheep of her own family. And this is what made her actions become more interesting because, as mentioned, she didn't like Lydia because she felt her own shame was being ignored and forgotten as Lydia becomes the new trophy wife, the new trophy piece of her husband. And she this shame is what sort of defined Miriam until she decided to let go of that shame, and this new bright side, this new stronger side of Miriam emerges. And it's through Miriam's eyes and her actions that she get this idea how women, no matter where they are in the world in life, how they're supposed to remain strong and endure no matter what is happening in their lives. They need to endure no matter what. And this is the key thing for Miriam. She's resilient and she can endure as much as anything, and she'll continue to remain strong even when a lot of other people will break. She doesn't break, and she just keeps enduring no matter what. To this book's core, the idea of enduring is what remains the heart of the story. Especially it speaks to readers, especially to anyone that reads it, how enduring is the way to remain survive. What Miriam does isn't loud or uh, powerful, but she acts quiet. Her actions are quiet, and it's through these actions that the real power is shown, and her resilience of not breaking underneath her abusive husband or the Taliban that's controlling the country around her. She acts this enduring way, which is the core to this book, resilience and enduring. And her resilience and enduring is what makes her survival so great, especially when she expects nothing in return. Unlike Miriam, Lydia's resilience and enduring is a lot louder. She's not afraid to go nose to nose with her husband when he's definitely out of line. When he says something about her children, about her lover, or just about her parents. She's not afraid to go nose to nose and even take a swing at him when he definitely crosses the line. For Lilia, she represents this new idea, this new world for women in Afghanistan, where they choose not to remain silent underneath a male supportive figure. She looks at them as equals, and she doesn't take any of crap. What Lilia does is show her power by being just a woman, but still showing her power that she won't back down, no matter how oppressed or how this feeling of being downgraded to a second fiddle, she refuses to do so, and she'll stand up to no matter what and to whoever she'll stand up to. When Lelia is involved in this new world with Miriam, she's thrown into a different new world, if you may, as her opinions, her feelings pretty much go sideline as her husband is the main authority of this household and of her life. Unlike before, she had more freedom, and when she gets involved with Miriam and her husband, that freedom is shattered away, is taken away. And of course, she only does stay in this relationship with the husband in order to survive with her children. It's through Lilia's own actions she refuses to let this inner freedom die, this inner fire die. She refuses to bow down to any male figures or any superiority figures in order to survive. She does the opposite. What she does is make a big stand against no matter who she has to stand up to against, and mostly it's her husband. And she looks at him, and she even takes a swing at him. The key pillar, or at least one of the key pillars, is courage for this channel. And the courage that these two women demonstrate is above none because this courage, this silent courage, or for Lilia's sake, this giant loud courage, is what's shown especially when being oppressed and just being forced into a life they don't want, but they want to let this cage, or they want to let this idea of this slavery or enslavement be what defines them in the end. It's their courage, their resilience is what makes them a lot better and a lot more interesting characters, and what a good demonstration of what the embodiment of true courage really is. I know I mentioned the husband a lot, so let me say his name. Rashid is the husband of both Lilia and Miriam. He's a lot older than compared to both of them. He's almost like in his 60s when he meets Miriam, and even older when he meets Lilia and marries both. And he becomes this authority figure quite early. He almost like becomes like a predator in a way. He shows this nice side, but suddenly switches it when Miriam and Lilia have nothing else to give him except children, more for Lilia's sake. And he reigns his household like with an authority figure, in a terrifying figure, as he's not afraid to get physical or any way abusive, even making jokes to even harm uh, Lilia's children if something crosses. And he becomes this like a sinister presence with each scene that he's in. You don't know what he's going to do. And with this presence, it reminds me of how even some households say where a male authority figure, or at least they think they are the ones in authority, hold this sort of entitlement, this idea that they are the ones that are in charge and are willing to put their partner or someone else beneath them in order to remain at the top or become the king of the house. Rashad feeds into these two men's fear because he knows there's nothing these two women can really do. Because obviously, being this in Afghanistan, where there's a heavily male support. What makes Rashad so terrifying is he's able to get away with all these things because he knows these two women can't do anything about it. He even pits them against each other, even making Mareem jealous when he calls Lilia like pretty much a trophy wife, the new thing, the younger thing, pretty much all the things that Mareem isn't. And at the same breath, he'll insult Mareem right in front of Lilia and Mareem herself. He holds this power, this presence that which still represents still on the outside, where the Taliban still held hold, where this male authority figure, which Rashid represents, is embodies, is a continued presence on the outside for these women, knowing that they were trapped and caged by just being women in this oppressed area of Afghanistan. However, for Rashid, what he didn't expect were his wives to actually become friends and grow into a deeper bond than they shared with him. It's through this friendship where they grew out of dirt, and it's this friendship, this bond between Miriam and Lilia becomes Rashid's downfall. And this idea, this friendship, becomes what's something that he, Rashid, can't even accomplish to destroy, even if he wanted to. His attempts at this idea, this bond, will just be destroyed by this unbreakable bond. These two women's bond, or their light, is what represents the opposite of the darkness that Rashid and the Taliban hold. And it's through this light that no matter how dark it is, there will always be a light, as Mareem and Lydia's bond is grown into a giant shield that nothing, no darkness can penetrate, no matter how hard they try. Another key thing that this book did for me was give me a better insight of how Afghanistan should be and how powerful their citizens, especially the women, can be and truly are. It's through this book, through the eyes of these women, where I can have this utmost respect of the women that continue to live in this world, this oppression. And through Lydia and Miriam's actions of this resilience shows me and enlightened me that this resilience and light continues on even today in 2025, almost 2026, where the Afghanistan women continue to shine through with their power and their resilience. So, which book changed you? Story that broke your worldview? Share in the comments, build bridges. Find our own splendid sons. Like and share if you enjoy this story. Testament to women's resilience, power in friendship, quiet strengths, hope in devastating places, cry for empathy, love. If you want to be changed, this is the book for you. Thanks for joining this journey. More deep personal review. Consider subscribing in the next one. Until then, happy reading, guys.